They used to charge for quilting by the inches of thread that were used. That was kind of how it was traditionally done. But we're charging by the time.
How would they keep track of that?
I guess because maybe the spools of thread were not spools as we know it. I don't know. You'd think it would be a little more complicated. But it would be fair to everybody, I guess. And some quilts are quilted so much that they're actually stiff. Like there's a lot of quilting.
I kind of like quilts like that in a way because they're like heavier.
Yes,
They have more weight when you lay them on you.
the old ones would have had wool batting instead of polyester.
And then there was cotton too.
Yeah, it
At
still
one
is
time. There
cotton.
still is cotton, but it's not the same as it was years ago.
How so?
I think it's more flatter.
Yeah, bonded and just more refined like all fabric is. We'll have a finish on it. And the old wool ones, the batting always seemed to bunch up no matter what you did with it, at least the old quilts I saw. But I guess if you had sheep and were carding, you might as well use what you got.
You usually tied those quilts
The
with
heavy
sheep wool.
sheep wool. But did they card it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they usually put it between a layer and then they put a cover over
Yeah.
top.
Then
So
you,
you
when
didn't
the,
have to wash the wool.
and then when the top cover got dirty or needed cleaning, you just take it off and wash it and put it back on and tie it again.
So where did you all learn how to do
So I
this
had
from?
2 of them
Here.
when I got married.
Arnie's the newest.
Bonnie started same time as me.
When was that?
She's a quicker learner though. About 2 years ago. Didn't you start the same as me?
No, she just a year
No.
ago.
A year.
Because
Oh my
Kathy's
goodness.
been gone
Well, a year.
a year, and it was only a couple months before Kathy passed away
Oh.
that I finally agreed to come with her.
Yeah,
So
she
they've been
came.
hassling you to
And she
come?
was only, pardon?
Have they been
I-
hassling
I-
you to come and join?
Yeah, Kathy has been, but I did quilting myself at home. My grandmother was a sewer, and so was my mom, and that's where I learned
My
the love of
mother-in-law
sewing.
kind of mentored me to quilting. And that was kind of good because whenever I ran into a problem, she knew how to fix it.
What about you all, Lina? You're being very quiet over there.
Me? It used to be when they used to have old-fashioned quilting bees. You went to a person's house and you would spend a day or so working on this quilt for this family or this person who had you there. And it'd be a whole day or 2 days or whatever you were doing it. And you'd get the quilt done all at once. That was, 50 years ago would have been. That's when I had never quilted before that.
So how old were you then? Well, I don't know. You don't give away your age, but was this when you were kind of like a young girl?
Yeah. It was
And
just after I had got married,
Okay.
and it was like in that community, they had these quilting bees, and, so we went to different houses and stuff and did them. And I said, I didn't know how to do it, and they said, well, come and learn. And that was, you had cotton batting, and they were harder to quilt than it is now.
Yeah. So you and Frida didn't learn from your mother.
No,
Nope.
how did you
Yet
learn,
you
Frida?
quilt the same.
They quilt the same. What do you mean?
I learned from, when I got married, I learned from my neighbor. She got me into quilting. She was just like a second mother to me anyway.
If you look at their stitches, you would think a machine had done it.
Tiny little.
They're, and everyone's the same. In quilting, it's not so important that they be small stitches, but you want to get an even size. And they're like machines there, boy. Their quilting's perfect.
Maybe it's in your blood somewhere.
I thought
Your
it was
ancestors.
inherited.
Could be.
Well, women have been doing this kind of thing for thousands of years, getting together and making textiles of some kind,
Yeah.
teaching each other and learning from each other. So when you talked about Alvina going into these quilting bees, and if someone needed a quilt made, like were there occasions that called for a new quilt being made? Why would people, have a quilt that needed to be made?
I don't know, it's just like a lot of times they did it just for pastime and did it, for themselves. And then, whenever they had time, they sewed a piece of quilt together and you get it done and you needed to quilt it. So then because I know I did the same thing, I quilted. I made a quilt top and then you wanted it done, so then you have everybody come in to get it quilted.
Just
Yeah.
called the neighbors.
And and you'd have it done all in a couple of days instead of you set it up for yourself, you would be there for months.
Yeah, because you'd have
You didn't
about
have room.
maybe 6 women or something
Yeah.
come in.
Because you didn't have room to put them. You put them in your kitchen, and the people were going under the quilt. And usually in the evening, the men came and played cards, and the women were working on the quilts.
So it was a social occasion a little
It
bit
was,
too.
Yeah,
Did you have quilting bees along with barn raising?
I don't know. We never had that.
You never did that.
No.
Amish do that. The one who's not, no, you're not filming me, are you? Well, I was just going to tell you about Rana, the one who's not here. She's on an extended visit in the States. But when she grew up, the ladies, she learned from her family, and they quilted all the time. And she said, I grew up thinking the sky was, I'd look up and there was the quilt bottom, and I thought that was the sky. And what she does is, she lives in quite a small house, and she would set up a quilt. She quilts on her own. She sets up a quilt, and that thing is in the middle of the living room for 2 weeks till she gets it all done, all by herself. She just works at it solid all day long,
Wow, I love that quote. I thought the sky was a quilt bottom. That's might be what I call this video.
And
It's
she's
great.
actually, you want to say we were taping, she's Mormon, and Mormon people are very into growing their own food, making their own things, So it's part of her family tradition, that this quilting thing,
So she played under the quilt as a child.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes they apparently would have, so they could hoist the quilt up to the ceiling and get it out of the way in some of the old houses, yeah.
Oh, what a good idea.
Yeah, that would, in case you couldn't get it done in
Because they never wasted the piece of lumber. They got 10 feet, that's the size of the
size
wall.
the room was.
Well, no, with the size of the height of the wall. Because
But
they
like
never
nowadays-
wasted.
Nowadays, when you put a quilt up, you got someplace you can put it, in your basement or spare room, or where nobody is occupying whatever. And then years ago, you had to use the same space you were living in, so that's why you wanted to get your quilt done in a hurry.
Yeah, and like with Rana, her husband and kids must have been on the same page, because that's the way life was. There was always a
Quilt in the middle of the room.
I guess, yeah, that's how they grew up, so, and that's how Rana grew up.
So did any of you ever, was it a custom or anything to say when a young woman got married to give her a quilt, or when a baby was born, things like that?
I think it's kind of an informal custom, but I don't know if it was ever very organized.
Most of these kind of things aren't organized. It's just kind of, if some families might do it, some might not. I just wondered if you, in your personal, if any of you, that was kind of a thing that was done in the community, or...
I usually did with the grandchildren, is make them a baby quilt.
Baby quilt.
Yeah. And great-grandchildren.
You don't have great-grandchildren, do you?
I beg to differ. I wish I wouldn't.
Strange kids keep hanging around.
Yeah, they're getting stranger by the day. No, so far I got 3 great-granddaughters, and 1 great-grandson. And there's 2 more on the way.
Wow.
Yeah, Dorothy was always making quilts for the grandkids and the great-grandkids, so I didn't get into it. Maybe I have to take that up, I don't know.
My mom and I, when my first baby was born, we decided to make a crib quilt. Neither of us had done this before. So we thought, well, how many layers of batting do we put in? We put in 3. We couldn't even get the needle through it.
Oh, that was a warm baby.
It definitely was. I don't know if we finished it with 3 or we took 1 or 2 out. I can't even remember. I still have it though. I'll bring it in next week.
You tried to hand quilt it?
Yeah, yeah. And we eventually did, but I don't remember how.
With difficulty.
So can you tell me about, like last time I was here, I said, oh, you make the quilts. And you said, we don't make the quilts, we quilt them. So can you
Yeah.
explain to me what you do? You kind of finish them? Like, can you explain
Yeah,
that?
but quilting is sort of the next to last step, and that's what people have trouble finding someone to hand quilt a quilt for them. So that's what we do. We don't actually piece quilts other than our own. And I don't know where the idea came from, but it supports the Khedive Rec Club then. That's where the money goes. And it's very reasonable. There's machine quilting now, and a lot of people can get their quilts machine quilted, but
It costs you a lot
it
too.
costs you more than, yeah, it probably costs you more than we're charging,
And it's different.
and it's,
And I don't care for machine quilt.
no,
No,
It's too stiff.
it's not. the
But it
same.
looks like a button.
Yeah, and I says sometimes they have it so close together, it's just like a blanket. It's not a quilt.
They're kind of stiff.
It's not nice and, like sometimes your
Soft and
quilt,
crunchy.
if you got the right batting in it and stuff, when you take it out, it looks a little puffy, or what do you call it?
Swollen glands.
it poofs up.
Yeah, it doesn't quite accentuate the things in the same way.
When I started quilting, I put the quilt up in the bedroom and I quilted them myself, and people kidded me, why don't you have a bunch come in and help you quilt? I said, because I'd invite them to come in and wait for them and maybe 2 would show up.
Easier just to do it yourself.
They just thought I was too fussy.
Yeah,
Why you do such good work?
we know, Frida.
Just like your sister.
So why do you do this?
Pardon?
Why do you do this? Why do you quilt? Why do you come here?
Why do I quilt?
Yeah, why do you do
I
it?
don't know, I enjoy it, I like it. It's relaxing for me.
Same thing.
It's just. I don't know, I just.
Just
I had
wanna
a neighbor
watch
and
me
she
fall.
got me into quilting, and I've still got the first quilt I ever made. And I used every kind of material I had. Some of it was that, what did you call it? It was coarser knit, and some had gold painting on it. And I still got the quilt. Some of it faded, but it's still there.
We have a good visit when we're quilting all
And a good
together.
I just
chuckle.
enjoy, well, I like sewing and I like quilting. I just feel relaxed when I'm sitting here quilting. Yeah.
Basically, I like handling fiber, any kind, you know?
And we have show and tell. If somebody's working on something, they'll bring it and show us what they've done, so we get to see what other people are working on. That's fun.
But like I made all my grandchildren a quilt when they were born, and I made now all my great-grandchildren quilts when they were born. And when they get married, I give them a big quilt. In fact, I made my one son 2 quilts, and I made my one daughter 2 quilts because they had 2 marriages. But I don't know how many quilts I made, and I never took pictures of them really, either.
I didn't take pictures when I started quilting, and
No, like even that was with the sewing and stuff, and the dolls I made, and that somebody says, didn't you take pictures of? I says, no, well, I did have the dolls I made, I got them, I called them my babies.
what kind of dolls did you make?
They were called foster children,
Oh, okay. I've done that too.
and you had to, like, make the face, you know. I had to-
Sculpting, yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
The-
From the back of the head?
Yeah,
The long needle. Oh, that's so funny. Because you never know what you're going to get till you put the next stitch in for the expression.
So Gail, can we go back when you said we have a good visit? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, we
Who said that?
Sometimes it's not becoming or not fit conversation to share. But, yeah, we get to know each other's families by chatting about what everybody's been doing. It's not a gossip session.
No, I said, somebody says, what did you talk about today? And I says, well, you know,
Recipes.
really, we didn't talk about anybody or nobody, we just visited, you
Yeah.
know? You just talked about, I don't know, everything, I guess.
When there's an election on, there's lots of politics get run through here, and there's a few hot topics that get discussed. I don't know, what else do we talk about, guys? Gardening and raising chickens and just
Raising chickens.
raising kids. Well, we've had a blow-by-blow of Elvina's chicken raising.
That's true, we have.
I got 'em.
But, no, you know, we had a neighbor like that, Mrs. Bean. She was a beautiful quilter, and she just talked all the while she quilted.
Never missed a
She was
stitch.
just busy a quilting away and was visiting away, and she never lost a stitch.
It's kind of like ironing, you don't really have to think about it most of the time. Gives you time to visit.
So is it nice to also have time where it's sort of just women?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Some of us come from male-dominated households.
Houses, yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
Can you
Lots
see
of
a
guys.
man doing this around here? There is men that quilt,
None of our
but
men.
none of our men.
Sometimes we have a little bitch sessions, I guess, we might go that far. About
Yeah, man.
about husbands and kids and company, as it were.
Well, I said, that was one thing, when I did a lot of sewing, even clothes, I says, my husband never complained when I came home with a piece of material and sewed the girls a dress or an outfit, or myself even something.
Really?
Yeah, that's right, he never,
That's good.
So Elvina, what about you? Why do you do this?
I like it. It took ladies, well, it was Gail's mother-in-law I was with her bowling in Perry, and she'd always say, oh, you should come and quilt at Khedive with us. You should come and quilt at Khedive with us. And I don't know how many times she was after me to come and quilt. And this one day I thought, okay, I'm coming. And I think, what did I say? It was 17 years ago that I came in. It was in April.
yeah, I think so.
But then after that, everybody was quitting too.
Elvina drives quite a ways, so does Frida.
So does
Frida's
Frida,
coming
as
from
far as that
Leyburn,
goes.
and
Yeah.
Bonnie's from Trossachs, and Marnie's from the Boonies.
The boonies.
I'm the
My
closest.
closest town.
But I like it. I said, it's just like belonging to a ladies' club where you have a meeting once a month. Except we go every Monday. Rain or shine.
And we don't
Usually-
fight.
No, we get along well.
Maybe we have to start.
Yeah, I want some drama for this. What can I say to get us
Get a
back
little
going?
tension going. eh?
And what about actually where you're doing that? Where we are today? What is it
Oh,
to be in this? Do you like being in this environment?
we started, we did quilt in the basement for a while, and then we had a little problem with leakage and reptiles, so we moved upstairs.
Because somebody said they weren't gonna quilt. They were.
Oh,
A few sissies
didn't
were
mind.
afraid of snakes.
I didn't want any snakes crawling over my toes.
The building, the foundation started cracking, and there was a few wet years, and we had water in the basement, and a lot of snakes came in, and it had to be renovated, so we moved upstairs here. And the basement was nice and cool in the summer, but it's nice up here to have a little good light too.
And the basement here, the windows are out quite a bit, and there is a fair amount of natural light. It's not like a basement.
No, they're big
so
windows.
It's bigger, but it's better, of course, upstairs. for
And that's what
quilting.
the quilting raises money for renovating the building, so we kind of do both things at once when we're here.